OMW. What is a business view? It's the link between applications and data. So it's just an SQL view or an Oracle view, or how do you know that from your other systems? It defines the data items from one or more tables that an application uses. You can create a new business view, use an existing one, obviously. But important with business views, you can select only the data items needed in the application, which increases performance. 4211 has 268 columns. If I need to make a report that only displays, for example, the quantity ordered and the quantity shipped, I could make a business view that only includes 10 fields from that table. And by doing so, it will increase the performance hugely because it has to load much less data. Business views, sorry, that's not correct, should be business view, not business service, allow also for indexed text searches. Actually, that's an option that is not used much, but for example, you might need to look for OmniLogic and all the sales order that OmniLogic did in the past month. So then you can invoke the text search functionality, and you can search on OmniLogic. It will return you back all the sales order lines with OmniLogic associated to it. Just as with any design aid, it's also accessed from within OMW, and the naming conventions dictate that all business view objects starts with the letter V. So back to our OMW, you can close the table design aid. Same, but now move the business view into your project. For example, the carton detail shipment workflow. So again, you look for it, you select the objects, and you move it across. And when you click this one, you again hit the design button, but instead of opening table design aid, it will now open business view design aid. That we didn't check out objects. This is the business view design editor. So where in the table design aid you would add data items to a table, in the business view design aid you add tables to a business view. For example, maybe I have something with shipment number. I would like to join this carton detail table to my 4211. So I would add my 4211 to it. Immediately it will add the primary key fields by default to the business view. And then I would look for shipment number.
Just courage. Wypadł drzwi?
And I would create a join between table A and table B. So just give that a try in your
Wypadł silnik z stercu.
Just take any business view. There are hundreds and hundreds to choose from. So the biggest project I've ever done was Parker, that makes the pens. Parker UK, they had an object library with 38,000 objects. It's quite big. So the standard OL comes with like 5,000 objects, I think, in total. So you have 38,000, you have 33,000 custom objects. You can only imagine. Huh?
ماشي بالكل. Yeah.
Again, very easy, this editor, no complexity. We come back to the different joint types and operators later on.
ماشي.
Are you following or is it processing?
أنا كنت
Yes.
Suele pasar strategia available tables la object name pune F42 care celebra de astăzi și o trage acolo.
أتفرج așa?
Așa. Și o tragi într-una într-alta și ți le leagă în cheia străină. Tragi pur și simplu într-una într-alta. Orice. User ID am tras.
Asta o fi.
Workstation ID. N-ai.
Așa e?
Yeah, that's a good one. So you cannot join a numeric to a string. You cannot join a date to a hash. It's a
Deci înseamnă user ID e legat cu company.
Ah,
N-ai nicio treabă.
Here we can join several pages.
yes.
And in the first screen, we have to define the primary and unique
Exactly.
table.
So you start from the smallest building block, which is the data item. Yes. Data items you use to create a table. Table is a list of data items. Right. Table always has a primary key. It's like, in the sales order data, the line number will be the primary key. So you have line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which just makes the record unique. And then a business view you use to link tables to each other. So in the other objects that we will see later, which are the most important ones, so you always need to use the business view in these objects. Either if you make an interactive application or a report or a batch application, you need to use a business view. Also, when the business view only includes one table, you cannot use the table directly. You always have to use the business view in the application. Okay, let's move on because we will come back to the business view design aids later in detail. Save changes no. Cancel. Next one. Forms design aids. Now we're gonna talk already about objects that actually make sense. Forms design aid used to make applications. APPL. Always starting with the letter E. So you use forms design aids, fda.exe, to create one or more forms for an interactive application, APPL. Okay. A form is a graphical user interface that enables users to interact with the system. Form can be used to search and display data, as well as enter new data and modify existing data. A single application can contain one or more forms. You can have applications with like, more than 50 forms. To create an application, determine the type of form the application requires and associate each form with a business view. You see? So here you use business view. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how they all link up to each other. There are different form types. We'll come back to that later. Usually a find browse type of form is the first form that appears in the application because, like the name says it's find and browse. It enables the user to locate a specific record with which to work And upon selecting the record, a subsequent form such as a fix inspect form can be used to provide details of the record. Since the 9.0 release, we have Power Forms. Power Forms enable you to design applications that use one single Power Form to locate a specific record and display all its detailed records on one form. So Power Forms can have multiple business views basically. Before that you can have only one business view on a grid. Now you can have multiple grids with multiple business views in a Power Form. Okay? Naming conventions dictate that all application object starts with the letter P. Great. So let's take an application. I'm doing P4210. Going to the design aids. Before we had table design aid and business view design aid, now we have form design aids. So reading specifications is also checking your runtime folder. If you have loaded the application before, it will be much quicker. What you see here is again the JDE. So when you would load a business view or a table with something that you didn't JDE down yet, it will JDE down while loading the application. For example, you see this one already, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 forms in it. So this is the table design editor. The customer service inquiry, if you click on it and go to the properties, you will see that this is a find browse form. So this will be your typical entry point to that application. So when you don't have to follow this on your demo, but if I go into my Enterprise One menu, type in my P4210 application. So the web GT, how often the GTs you can also configure, of course. There is a JAWS.ini, which we will come back to later, and there you specify how often it will GT down. As a developer, you would want to GT down every time, of course. Otherwise, you might wonder why is my fix not working because it didn't GT down. You see, and here I have the same customer service inquiry that I have here in my design aids, which looks like this. Let's go back and apply like this. So again, unfortunately, I have to come back to it. Like this FDA is like maybe 30 years old. The editor. It has to be expected that at a given point, Oracle will say, Schluss with the FDA and move to JDE developer to create your application directly. It has to be expected. For me, I dislike form design data. I never do it. I give it to other developers. I like other things to develop. It's so, you have to watch out what you do. For example, if you go to the detail revisions, look how it looks.
Oh.
It comes with different pages like this. And it's very complex. For example, if you go to the grid and you check the logic codes, you go back to all these things. You know that all the applications in E1 are event-driven, so we have different events. These are the available grid events. For example, the row is exited and changed async. Look how much code is only in this one event. And of these codes, most of the things will be important business function calls, like this one, the edit one. And actually this one will be the one that executes all the codes. So, really JDE, when you run an application, it's millions of lines of codes that are executed, literally millions and millions of lines of codes.
What language is this?
This is the event rules. This is the
It's
native.
scripting.
Yes, exactly. It's a very easy, it's a typical interpreted language. And so you compile to machine language at runtime. This it's actually pretty easy to work with. But it's almost readable.
It's all only if and else. If then else.
Well, it is. You have lots of options. You have assignment.
While
exit.
for other.
For example, if you do this, you can assign criteria to it, business function calls, you have system functions, you can map out all these things. A lot of system functions you have. You can do create new variables, and else, table IO, report interconnect, form interconnect. It's pretty powerful, actually. As you can see, if you have to go from discourse to supporting a client, you might want to get used to this a little bit before you do it. Because it's confusing the first time. You need to modify where you need to put your code, for example. Not only you need to find the correct event to put it in, also in the event the correct place. It's very, it's an expert, it's really an expert thing. I would not say that you can do JDE development on the side. It should be not your main focus, for sure. Next one,
Next one.
data structure, design 8.
Coisa aqui, ó.
Nu se poate.
DSTR, data structure, starting with actually D and E or actually. So data structures are composed of data items. These lots defined in the data dictionary and are used to pass data to and from interactive, batch applications and business function. We also use data structure design to create or modify processing options templates and media object data structures. So we have 3 flavors here. We have normal data structures, like this one, start with the letter D. Those are used in business functions. Then you have data structures that are embedded in interactive and batch applications. So they are part of the application. You have these ones that start with a T. Those are processing option templates. These ones. Maria knows all about processing options. That's their main business. That's what functionals do. They configure the system based on the processing options of an application. And then you have the media object data structures, the JDEs. We come back to all these things. But let's first see how that looks in the design aid. For a data structure. Get work center rates data, for example. Again, I am looking design aids, data
No,
structure
on
design
second
aids.
spot. On second spot. Çıkarırsa deleted.
And as you can see, this is just a flat definition containing data items. And you specify here whether it's a required parameter in data structure, and you can also define input output, for example, only in, only out, both ways. Don't make it too difficult with yourself by changing the required and the input output parameters. You can much better handle this in the code than defining it here upfront. It will only annoy you. That's a normal data structure that will be used in a business function. But as we saw, there are also e-objects. Taking the one for the sales order application. And here you see I have a different editor. So I don't go to data structure design aid, but now it's called suddenly processing option design aid. And that looks completely different. And here you have on and on, it goes with tab pages, with all kinds of options. And these are runtime options that can be set by the end user or by the functional consultants like Anna Maria. And you will need to cater for these options by using these cross options in your program. If you click on edit here, go to properties,
Numele acrobat. Current spot adapter.
you will see that this particular processing option is associated with data dictionary item, this one, EV22, and that we have called it C use ref process. And that means that in the application there will be like an if statement that says if C use pref process is equal to blank bypass or equal to 1 activate preference processing. Like this you can make your code flexible and give the option to the end user to use it flexibly.
Thomas?
We can put those processing functions to any action, application, or report.
Every application has its own template. So E4210 has this E4210 template associated with it. That's what you do then. And I know we are going fast, but if you go to IV interactive versions and you enter P4210, you see there are hundreds of versions of this one program, right? And if you click on the version and you go to processing options, you will see that this one has, for example, SO order type configured to it, but a different version. The second one has a different order type associated with it. See? This is the way that functional consultants make the menus and give one version to this end user and another version to another end user. And like this you can steer the logic of your program. So is everybody up to speed with these basic concepts until now? So data dictionary items, most important and the smallest building block. You create tables. Tables use data items. Business views use tables. Applications use business views. Yeah. Data structures is a pass and through entity object, so that you use in business functions, but also the cross-function templates you associate with applications or with reports for that matter, and to flexibly steer the logic of the program. We will all come back to all these design aids and objects in detail So in between, I have put the event rules because we have already seen it in the application design aid, and we need to go over them quickly. So what are these event rules? As we have seen, every application in E1, whether it be an interactive application or a batch application, is event-driven. So events are activities that occur on a form. Button-clicked events, retro-changed events, dialog is initialized event, all different events. Events can both be initiated by the user, button-clicked, also by the engine. Dialog is initialized, which is of course an engine-driven event. Event rules are logic statements that you can create and attach to events. We call them ER. ER is initiated when events occur at runtime. You can attach multiple event rules to one event, as we have seen. The various kinds of event rules include conditional statements, if, else, and if, do, while loops, normal assignments, calls to business functions, form or report interconnects, calls to system functions, and table I/O operations. So, and I hope this is not too confusing for you, but when you use event rules in an application or in a report, you call it event rules. But when you use event rules in a business function, we call it named event rules, NERs. Okay. So actually, we distinguish between these named event rules and embedded event rules, or simply event rules. Why, I don't know. Just the way it is. It's completely the same. It's 2 times event rules. So an embedded ER is specific to a particular table. We didn't see that yet, but on a table you can make it a table trigger, of course. Table trigger will also compose of event rules. An interactive application, which we have seen, and a batch application. Okay. Here we have it. Embedded event rules for a table is called table event rules or table triggers. I don't know why they make it so complex. You just name the whole lot event rules, but they don't. So embedded ER for tables is the table event rules. Embedded ER for an interactive application or a batch application is called application event rules. And event rules are a typical interpreted programming language. The good thing about event rules is that it's very low level. So sometimes I give these development training and I have people in the class and I see them smiling already because they think it's going to be like an easy game. When they find out that actually all the core logic is executed in the business functions, which requires then C programming language, and then they are not so happy anymore. And that's the way it goes. Okay, so as we have seen, so common functions that you can use in event rules are assignment and expression. Create assignments and do complex expressions, like the expression editor also comes with a whole lot of functions, for example, elapse time or add date, where you can have a date and add 7 days to it. This time it's all in the expression editor. If while conditional statements, business function calls, system function calls, variables, you can even have event rule variables. And then table I/O, which is also important to consider table. Table I/O are event rules that access the database or the tables that you created directly. System functions. System functions, again, just like event rules, they do not are not considered objects because they are available inside event rules. So system functions are predefined sets of logic shipped with the E1 product. These functions enable you to perform specialized processing without adding custom code. You can use the system functions from within the report design aid, forms design aid, and workflow. Okay. So I can quickly show you that, or maybe if you are still not into an editor. example, an event, the master
Yeah,
record has been read,
Aí,
Nasıl develop?
then you have this section called system functions. And if you click it, you have a whole lot of system
Yeah,
functions
but
now.
we should-
Clear control error, set control text, set control error. So these are just to make your life a little bit easier. And if you would have to write code every time again to set an error to a control, now you can just use the set control error. You use you look for the control that you want to apply an error code to. You give me the value for this existing error code. And just like that, when you would activate this event now, it would put an error message 1234 against control FC business unit. So you don't need to write code for you, the system function does that for you. We have very advanced system functions. Some things that you will never use. Cancel user transaction, copy currency information, get unique ID, get transaction ID, a whole lot of complex. This one is set V card, very new. Press button, something that you will use a lot of time. You dynamically call a button without the user having to click the button, you will just program the press button for it. So I think everybody understands what system functions are, right? On with the objects, business functions. So a business function, BSFM, is an encapsulated set of business rules and logic that accomplishes a specific task and can be reused by multiple applications. Right? So an application P4210, that's a standalone object. It's P4210. But in the P4210, I can have a business function that is called getAddressBook. The getAddressBook business function I can also reuse in another application later on. I could create my own custom application. I also have the need to display an address. I could reuse that business function. Yeah? So a business function is a reusable set of code and rules. A business function also provides a common way to access the database. So business function again are subdivided into different parts. You have master business functions. Provide the logic and database calls necessary to extend, edit, and commit a full transaction to the database. For example, the sales order entry master business function would exist out of a begin doc part, which would validate the sales order header, an edit line business function, which would validate all the lines in the sales order, an edit doc. The edit doc is called after validating all the lines and before the commit. The edit doc, for example, would be called for advanced pricing functionalities. For example, if you have advanced pricing set up and you need to give a discount to a client when you know the total sales order, the edit doc would calculate the total amount on all the lines and apply the discount or rebate to it. And finally, an end doc. And it's the end doc that would commit the transaction to the database, you see? So where you have a standard business function like getAddressBook, which is just one call, getAddressBook. A master business function consists of a number of calls. Begin doc, edit line, edit doc, and end doc. Right? And like a sales order, it would of course only be committed in the end doc part, and when there's errors, it will perform a full rollback so that you don't end up with half created sales order or invalid records. Everybody understands that concept, huh? is also good about business functions is that it's also something that third-party applications can use. For example, we have the dynamic Java connector. The dynamic Java connector can just call our business functions directly from an external Java program, for example. You can use this master business function to update master files, update transaction files. So generally, master file, master business functions with access status are simpler than transaction file, master business function. So this is a typical example of a transaction master business function. I think everybody who knows programming knows what transaction processing is. Yeah? So the same works in JDE. You would define your boundary with the begin doc, and you would end your boundary at the end doc, and the end doc decides whether there is a rollback or a commit to the database. I hope we can come to all these things in those 4 days. We will see. I don't know. Okay, so business functions. So master business functions, just type of business function, but actually business functions consist out of 2 flavors. We have first called the named event rule, and this is a business function that we start off with the letter N. A named event rule or an NER. This is actually just a series of regular ER statements, like we have seen in the application. And it encapsulates this series of statements into reusable components. Okay. So NER business function naming conventions dictate that they start with the letter N. Now the other flavor, the core business functions, implement customized business logic using the NCC language. Okay. And C business functions naming conventions dictate that they start with the letter B. Okay. So both type of business functions are accessed from within OMW and business function design aid, but C business functions use the Visual Studio embedded in the E1 toolset as its editor, and NERS just use the business function design aid, XE variant for it. And of course, business function is compiled into DLLs, for which we use the native BizBuild compiler that comes with your program. Any questions about this? Let's have a quick look how this looks in design it. First, start off with an NER, so starting with the letter N. Start business function design it. You see source language, named event rules. The parent DLL for this is cdist.dll, and also important, a business function, you also always give it an indication whether it's a client-only function, client-server function, client-server-only function.
The distinction between client and server is the distinction between this type of application.
No, it's totally different.
Oh.
You might make a business function that has a statement or an inclusion of a statement that is only running on a client and not on a server, for example.
Like validation? Or
Yes, exactly. You would make it a client-only function. This business function exists out of 2 sub-functions, you see. One is called add UNSP CC code and validate UNSPC and the complete description, you see. These things, it's all attributes that you add to it when you create a function. Nobody cares about it too much. But so if you select one of these functions and you click the edit button, you see again we come into this event rules. But the difference between an NER and an application is this has only one event because it's a business function. We only have the named event rules. But you see this one is inserting data to the table, validating the inserts, and returning an error message when applicable. Very simple business function. instead of inserting into the table, this one will fetch from the table, and also likewise throw an error when the record is not found. So I do the same with the sim function. You see that the source language is different in this case. And you see already, this is an MPF. So it has a clear word file, a begin doc, an edit line, and edit line pre-process, and an end doc. So click on it, go to edit. And it will start Visual Studio. So this one, for example, comes with 33,000 lines of code. What you can see here is already the whole type of custom E1 APIs. JDE, string copy, mount copy, call object, for example. JDE call object is a custom API. We will come back to all these things. Here in this business function, I'm calling a second business function from the other business function. I would do them in this way. I'm calling the cache update CSS info business function from my sales order entry master business function. So all the core logic is all C business functions. You will never have them, well, we do have some MPFs that are in NER, but the C business function is always the preferred method. Also, something that I can show you is this is for me is readable and easy to debug. But if I take my other function that we saw earlier, which was the easy and 24001, and I open this in C. Which I can do, of course, because native encoders are also compatible to C language. You see that the very easy table I/O insert that was very easy in table event rules is much more complex in these compiled C codes. And that is why named event rules are so hard to debug. Because named event rules you will also debug using the MS Visual Studio debugger. And in normal C code you will have like 20 lines, but in compiled named event rules code it will spread down to 60 or 70 lines of code just to do a simple insert. And that's a different thing. You see, this is like, for example, which looks totally different from what we have seen in the code itself. It looks like this. The source code looks like this. So it's always a very bad idea starting to modify NER business functions through the MS Visual Studio editor. Never do that, because you will never be able to compile it in the game. Use the appropriate editor for every object type you will define. Okay, APIs. Everybody knows what APIs are, application program interfaces. Routines that perform predefined tasks. So JDE comes with a whole set of APIs, and it makes it easier to program yourself, but also for third-party applications to interact with the human software. Like most APIs will provide common functionality to access the database, but there is also common library routines like JDE string copy and not copy, for example, but also caching functionalities. Like if you have to write a caching program, you can only do that using C codes. You can never do that using any R codes because the APIs are only available from within the C editor. Database call, JDE base APIs, and a program with APIs is useful for the following reasons. Just like a system function, no code modifications are required as the functionality is upgraded. When a data structure changes, source modifications are minimal to non-existent. Common functionality is provided through the APIs, and they are less prone to error. When the code in an API changes, business functions typically only need to be recompiled and relinked. And system function and APIs are documented in a compile HTML header file, and this is available on the Oracle support. Looks a little bit like this one. For example, you can find all the information about I need to create a cache function. What do I need to do? I start with the JDE cache init. It explains what parameters you have to associate with it. A user handle, a cache handle, all these things. Simple cache manipulation. What is the difference between a cache fetch and a cache fetch position, or a fetch position by reference? It's all documented here. Let's say 100 to 150 APIs are documented here. There exist maybe 2,000 to 3,000 APIs. Right? So there is a whole lot more that is not documented at all. This one you can just find in your local system. Includes here are all the header files that list all of the APIs available in the, for example, the current definition if you open it. Here it documents all the APIs available in one, the use of it, and there is thousands and thousands of things available. That is why JDE is so great, because you can make it beautiful if you want, but also so frustrating because if you have to look for something you don't know where, you might run into issues.
Do you want to have a break?
I don't know, so I think we have a break at 1 o'clock. So only 2 more to go. And we have seen all the objects. So reports. Reports we group under the abbreviation UBE, Universal universal batch engine. And they also always start with the letter R for report. A whole lot to tell about reports again. So you use the report design aid, RDA.exe, to create a variety of simple and complex batch processes and reports. And commonly we refer to it as the universal batch engine. So here it starts again. The interface is simple enough to use without programming expertise, but yet powerful enough to create the most complex reports. And I can assure you there are some complex reports out there. So you use this RDA to create batch processes that don't output anything, as well as reports that you need for end users, for example. RDA includes a director to guide you through the process of creating report templates. This report director presents multiple report components from which to choose. This one, just forget about it actually. Nobody uses director to create a report actually, because you always would create one from scratch yourself. Maybe an end user would use the director to create a simple report, but you as a programmer would always create a complex report, of course. So if you go through the director, and afterwards you can enhance the report by inserting additional report sections, modifying properties, adding logic to it, organizing the data, calculating totals. There are a whole list of things. So the naming conventions dictate that all the UBEs start off with the letter R. And then also important, we have seen earlier on, there exists something that is called interactive versions. Similarly, you have also something that is called a batch version. And the difference is that an interactive version is an optional thing, but the batch version is a required thing. So every UBE created has to be associated with at least one batch version. Yeah? So batch versions are specific versions of report templates. Similarly to what we have seen with the interactive application, they can have processing options associated with them. They can have a certain data selection. They can have a certain data sequence that determine how your report works and runs. So a component that is new to reports is BI Publisher or XML Publisher. Somebody has heard about that already? Yeah. So the thing about JDE reports is that it's powerful. You can do almost everything, but graphical, it was like a big pile of poo. You could not do, like even adding a logo on a report was an enormous thing. So users were not accepting that anymore because everybody wants to have a nice report. So they invented something new that's called XML Publisher. And XML Publisher is an Oracle tool. There it's called BI Publisher. When it's embedded into E1, it's called XML Publisher. And so what it would do is you would run your report, but instead of making an output into PDF or into Word or whatever, you would generate XML data from the report. And then you would create a template in MS Word. And in the MS Word, you would import the XML data. And by merging the two, you could create complex reports that suit your needs. I don't know if I have the abolition report on my clients. Let's first have a look. Our report looks like. So again, when you select the object, then you go to the design. It will start up with different design aids. In this case, it will be the report design aid. This is a typical report. of a section. What we have seen before, we would associate the business view with it. Right. So just like with applications, all UBEs need to have at least one business view. It's a requirement. So the business view decides what tables and data you load in the report. Just like with applications, we have the event loads. The event flow of a report is way less complex than for an interactive application, because here it always follows the same event flow. Initialize section, advance, before level break, if you have defined one, do section, and then the after events. Whereas an interactive application, the event flow is different for every component. So it's much more complex in an interactive application. Again, you can see some system functions that we saw earlier. For example, here, there is a system function set user selection, which will override the user selection done by the user. This will be a typical do section. When we come back to the details later on, you will understand the difference between business view columns, previous business view columns, and all the different type of assignments you can do. We come back to all these things later when we go into the details of all these different components. If you could use a PC value in the do section, you would actually use the value of the previous record related by the do section event. So you have different things. BI Publisher. It comes with a different set of applications called the BI Publisher Object Repository. So BI Publisher will be an addition on top of the UBE part, and so the UBE would spill out XML data, and the XML data would be used by would be merged by a template, and together they would create a nice report. For example, this is an RDF template, and so the idea behind the whole BI Publisher part is that end users will start to create their own reports. I've never seen that happen, but that's the idea. Because it can get pretty complex. Even if you want to create the report as an end user, you still need to understand the XML coming out of the application, understand the structure of the XML, things like that. So we have the BI Publisher Object Repository, the XML object.